Me and Alex were footsying under the table.
Welcome to episode 6 of the RAGAMUFFIN Music Podcast. I'm Alex.
I'm James.
And I'm Dan.
And this is a place for us to talk about the music we love.
And finally, in episode 6, we are doing this in person together.
Hey! Let's look at some news. Some explicit videos of Megadeth bassist David Ellefson have leaked, and there have been allegations of grooming. It is alleged that he may have been grooming an underage girl. In a statement from the band, they said, "As the situation unfolds, it is important that all voices be heard clearly and respectfully. We look forward to the truth coming to light." The woman in question released her own statement saying that she initiated the interaction, she was never underage, and is a consenting adult. Ellefson has since deactivated his social media account, and now, as of May 24th, Megadeth have announced that Ellefson is no longer in the band.
Shit.
News.
I did not. I missed that somewhere along in the past month. Yeah, I mean, that's the best they can do in terms of a statement and how they move forward with that. Yeah, I don't even know what to say.
There's not really any kind of comment to make, is there? It's a serious allegation. There's literal video evidence. And yeah, apparently the relationship with him and the other band members is already pretty strained, so there's really no defending it, is there?
The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees have been announced for 2021. There's a big list of artists, but the notable ones include Tina Turner, Jay-Z and the Foo Fighters, but perhaps more notably is the widespread opinion that Iron Maiden was snubbed as they're not been included this year. How do we feel about this?
I mean, I don't know what they need to do to have any inclusion in that, and there is nothing else they could actually do. So there could be fan petitions, they could start their own petition and start pushing for it, but at the end of the day, if the people in charge aren't going to even add their name onto these lists even for kind of consideration, then nothing's going to change, is it?
I don't think it's that big of a deal. I mean, they do this every other year, don't they? So they don't need to add every name in rock and metal right now. They can just do it.
Yeah.
You can't have every big name right now. You can just save them for another year.
Metallica have written more than 10 new songs in lockdown. Are we excited?
I'm not the biggest Metallica fan myself, but it's new music. It's something to get behind. Why not?
I completely echo that. I know, Alex, you are the Metallica fan here, to be honest, out of the three of us. So, again, yeah, it'll be new music. It'll be something that we'll probably review anyway. But in terms of excitement levels, I'm not quite there yet until I hear a single.
I'm pretty excited. Some sad news for us. The Story So Far and Movements are not appearing at Slam Dunk this year. Sad Summerfest, a tour in the US, which was cancelled, have announced rescheduled dates, and unfortunately it clashes with Slam Dunk in the UK. And so Story So Far and Movements will not be appearing. What a shame.
Sadness.
It sucks, but, it's easier for them to tour the US, isn't it? They'll be back.
Yeah. And Slipknot are in the studio. Clown says that they're making God music and praises Corey's vocals. So exciting.
Yeah, I know it's the last album on the deal with Roadrunner, and they've been talking about that for a while, about if they were to do any independent releases after that, and the money actually going towards them as an artist, because they've said so many times they've just earned no money from any of their album sales really, or any of the songs they've written. So it'll be interesting to see their approach going into, album number 7 now.
And lastly, Record Store Day is approaching. It's June 12th, so make sure to go pick something up to support your favourite artists and your local record store.
There's always some unique one-off items out on Record Store Day, so make sure you check it out.
So, as always, we gave each other some recommendations. James, what did you recommend for us?
So I recommended the album Wrath by Lamb of God. What did you guys think of it?
I quite liked it. Lamb of God aren't my usual thing. I don't stray too much into that style of metal that often. But I can see why James likes it a lot, being a drummer. There's lots of varying drum beats in there, lots of double bass, some interesting little patterns in there that I'm sure he's probably learnt before. It's fast, it's heavy and aggressive, so there's not much to not like, really. I think Contractor was my favourite on it.
Yeah, that was a song that stood out to me, especially the ending of it. I'm a fan of Lamb of God already, but this wasn't an album that I really knew all that well, so it was fun to kind of delve into something that was familiar but still new. Contractor and also In Your Words was Just insane.
Absolute tunes.
Loved it. I recommended The World Is My Enemy Now by Upon a Burning Body. What did you guys think?
So this was an album that I was already familiar with, so it was just a pleasure for me to go back and listen to again. Red Razor Wrists, Fountain of Wishes, Bring the Rain, and The World Is My Enemy Now, the title song, are probably some of my favourite songs on the album. Throughout it, there's just some nice riffs as they transition kind of into a slightly more metalcore sound compared to deathcore and the previous album. And Danny Leo's vocals are just on point. I think his enunciation of lyrics has stepped up to another level while maintaining just heaviness still. The first album with Tito Felix on the drums and just some beautiful cymbal work. And I find this is one of like a few general albums that I feel I can listen to from start to finish and just enjoy the whole thing. And I think it's their strongest in their discography. But yeah, I love this album.
Again, I'd never really listened to Upon a Burning Body before, so this gave me a really good excuse to do so, and I quite liked it. I mean it in the nicest way possible. They'd probably be one of my favourite bands if I knew them when I was 14.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, because I still had good music taste when I was 14. And yeah, Pledge of Allegiance, I think, was the standout one for me. So I recommended Dragged Under's The World Is In Your Way. I thought James especially would like this one, because they remind me a bit of Beartooth. What did you think?
One word I'd just say to start off with, banger. Absolutely loved it. I think it's a fantastic album from start to finish. The Real You and Hypochondria are just really strong starts to the album. And I think it just kind of stayed from there. The opening riff for The Hardest Drug was bloody amazing. And I remember the intro for Instability just made me proper laugh because it's almost kind of got that studio atmosphere and the feel and the joking and everything.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that. It's a band I really want to delve into more. It's just like fast-paced, non-stop energy. I trained alongside to it like in the gym and it just kept me pumped up and it was just fantastic and it's just some perfect hardcore music.
Yeah, I was the same. I like the variation on it. Like, you've got the straight up thrashing, like hardcore songs, and then some of it's so catchy. And then, like a Christmas song at the end.
Yeah, I don't think that's on the main. I don't think that's on the original album release. I think that's on the deluxe version. But still nice.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed it.
Welcome edition.
Cool. Let's look at the latest releases then. Royal Blood recently released their third album, Typhoons. What did you guys think of it?
Well, Royal Blood have always been a bit of a Marmite band, really. And with this one, the release of this album, even some of their biggest fans have been slating this one, saying it's a bit dull. But to be honest, I think they're being quite unfair. Yes, there's a few forgettable songs that sound a bit samey, but on the whole, it's not really that bad. Mad Visions and Limbo have a bit of a disco vibe that you can sort of bop along to, which is nice. Boilermaker is probably the catchiest song of the year so far. I absolutely love that one. And in summary, really, I guess it's not as good as their previous albums at all. It's a little bit different, but I think it'd be even more boring if they'd just done a third album exactly the same.
Yeah, I think that for me was the biggest thing that I wanted them to do something that was a bit different from kind of their first two albums. And I think there's enough on it that should still appeal to old fans. I'm not really sure why people are against it as much as they are. Yeah, and they've got songs on here that will be good additions to their live set. Boilermaker, like you said, and I think Trouble's coming as well. I just like the groove and the riffs are all fun. And yeah, his vocals were also, I think, his best so far.
That's exactly it. It's just a fun album, I think. I don't think it's taking anything too seriously. The last two were kind of very based on just riffs and sort of intricacy, whereas this is quite a simple sort of just have fun kind of thing.
But also it feels like with their first two albums, they very much leaned into the fact that it was just the two of them, whereas this one feels a lot more like they've explored a lot more and kind of opened up the sound. Oh yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. James, what about you? I'm nervous.
He's
nervous?
Smiling.
I'm just smiling there. I'll start from the beginning. That's a good place to start. Trouble's Coming, I think, was a good start to the album. I discovered as I kind of go through the album, they use the same riff, just kind of repeated a lot. But I felt in Trouble's Coming, it had slight variations that still kind of kept it engaging, kept it interesting, and it was very well structured. And then similarly, Oblivion kind of has that repeated motif on the bass that's still engaging. There's enough little nuances in some of the drum play to keep the instrumental still fresh. even with that repetition. But then I got to Typhoons, 3 songs in, and the bass tone was just getting a bit tired for me. And it's interesting how they use that kind of the bass as a guitar for riffs, but it just started to get a little bit stale. And again, they have these very slight variations in the riffs, but it was like, okay, I'm kind of just getting this Royal Blood sound now. I particularly didn't find anything too exciting in the vocals. Not that there was anything bad about it necessarily, but it didn't keep me as interested compared to actually listening to what the instrumentals are doing. I found myself much more focused on that side of it. Either You Want It had a really nice intro in the song, and I enjoyed the drum work, and that was one that stood out for me. Had some nice use of EQ in the production, creating like different sounds that like dip in and out, almost like kind of fading slightly. And then I felt like finally All We Have Is Now was a welcome change in the sound. And I think it would have served better like halfway through the album to break up more, a bit like Paye on Sleep Society, because I felt like if that was a little more centralized in the album, maybe I wouldn't have felt it was too stale. It was okay, but I feel like from someone, my perspective, coming as a new listener, once you've kind of heard 3 or 4 of the songs, you've kind of heard the album. So that comes from a different perspective.
I can see why you say that. I think it's worth noting as well, it's a really short album. It's only like 30-something minutes long. And I think if it went on any longer, then I wouldn't have wanted to keep listening to it.
No.
It's kind of okay, the length it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because, like James said, it's a bit repetitive, and I think by the last song, you've kind of... How do you feel, really?
Got the Just a Royal Blood by them.
Gojira released Fortitude. This is a band that I've heard a lot about over the last few years, but I've never really given them much of a listen. So this is my first time listening to a full album. The first 2 songs, which were singles that I'd heard before, didn't really do much for me, but from track 3, which was Another World, it all kind of clicked for me, and that was when I kind of thought to myself, like, yeah, they're as good as people say they are, at least for me anyway. Just, it's really good, like, in-your-face, riffy metal. Some of the songs that stood out were Newfound and Into the Storm. And I think also as it went on, I enjoyed more and more the kind of unique sound of his voice. Yeah, I really, really liked it. What did you guys think?
Like you said, we heard Born for one thing, and we did a review of it. I think it's actually one of the more standout songs on the album as a whole. I love the strong ride cymbal sound still cutting through the mix, but then I still find their like intra-song transitions quite odd. Like they kind of just jumps between different things, doesn't flow properly to me. You mentioned Another World. I thought that was really, really nice from the intro lick and the guitar work underneath the verses. Newfound gave me some like cool new metal vibes from the beginning, kind of seeming slightly Korn-esque. I found the title track Fortitude to be a surprising interlude that I really enjoyed. But then it kind of went into the chant, which just seemed like 5 minutes of basically nothing really happening. And then again, you said Into the Storm. I found the latter part of Into the Storm and The Grind much better listening experiences, but kind of being that late into the album, I don't think it worked in the favour of those songs. And again, from a band that I've heard a lot of, it was an okay album. It was disappointing from I think what I'd expected of the notoriety I've heard of them, and it felt like it just felt like fallen a bit short.
Well, I was very whelmed when we reviewed the single Born for One Thing, but in terms of the album as a whole, I think it's very solid. Amazonia early on has a really interesting indigenous thing going on, which sort of sets apart how unique this album's going to be straight away. But Hold On, onwards is where I think the album really gets going, with the track that follows it, Newfound, probably being my favourite. You've then got the chant, which again is really unique. It sort of builds up slowly and sort of keeps I don't really know how to describe it. It's just a really interesting, different thing that I've not really heard much similar before. And then the Sphinx later on is another standout for me with that riff. And then it sort of blows your face off close to the album close.
Yeah, I think it suffered a little bit from like the expectations, but in some ways it still did live up to what I thought they would be. So overall, yeah, I really liked it. And I might dig into some of their other stuff.
Yeah, it certainly got me interested. I'm going to dig a bit more in, I think. See what they're all about.
We also got a bunch of singles from loads of bands. First up, Bloom by Of Mice and Men. I thought the vocals once again were so good. I said it last time, but it blows my mind that we listened to Austin Carlyle scream in that band when this guy was there the whole time. I did think that the songs on the Timeless EP were probably a bit stronger than this, but it was still a solid song. And I'm still excited for the next EP they release. What did you guys think?
I disagree with you saying that the EP was stronger. I think this is probably, in my opinion, this is the best song they've released of those. I loved it. The breakdown is unreal. It's got everything you want. There's heavy bits, melodic bits. The lyricism's really good as well. And they're just smashing it at the moment. I can't wait to hear what they do next.
Fair enough.
I am going to agree with Alex. I really, really enjoyed the Timeless EP, and it's made its way a lot into my regular rotations of music on a day-to-day basis. And so after getting such a good response on that, I was really looking forward to hearing this song. I like some of the attempts they've done at like trying something different and experimenting, but I don't think it just landed properly for me, and the layered vocals in that intro took away from it, and I think having just a solo vocal track would have been a bit more impactful. Some good head bobbing riffs. Again, the vocal performance, I think, is the best part on this. His enunciation, again, in the harsh vocals was something that really resonated. I think that's something that, along with some of these other artists we've got on here today, that there's like a difference in the sound of like when you've kind of got these harsh vocals of being actually able to understand what they're saying. I think adds just another level to the music. A solid chorus, but not one as strong as I think we've seen on the Timeless EP earlier this year. And then from just a drum perspective, I was a bit disappointed because it sounded like the bass drums were triggered at the end of the second verse, which for me, like if I start hearing
triggered that, you.
No, it's just not. I hate that. As soon as I kind of heard that and all the velocity of the hits sounded the same, I was like, that was just disappointing. Highlight of the song was the breakdown at the end with some lovely chuggy guitars and some screams. I'm just hoping any other songs that come out from the second EP will be a lot stronger, to be honest.
Ahead of their Zombie 2 EP, The Devil Wears Prada released a single, Nightfall. What do you guys think?
This was my first proper exposure to them after hearing the name for like a few years, being a big part of that mid-2000s like Christian metalcore scene with As I Lay Dying, Old Sleeper, August Burns Red. It was kind of interesting to go into it, listening to all of those other bands and not ever listening to Devil Wears Prada. I felt like the mix could be better in the instrumentation, with the drums being quite high, probably too high in the mix. Some lovely riffs and little fills scattered in and out the track, and some solid metalcore vocals, but nothing really jumped out very notable to me. And it feels like, this is a hard one to describe, I think. It feels like it just like stays on the same level throughout the whole song. And like a good song to me feels like it should tell a story. It's got like peaks and troughs it can build. It's got these big progressions that have the drawbacks. And it feels like this is basically 4.5 minutes of good metalcore on like a plateau. And it doesn't really get that storytelling that you'd want to get in a really engaging song. So I did come out of this very, very disappointed.
Yeah, I've not got much more to add to that, really. There's some really cool riffs in there. There's one or two tempo changes that felt a little jarring, sort of between the verses and when switching between these riffs. But it was a good song. It's cool. I liked how it does that thing where it keeps coming in slower and then a bit slower, and then you think the breakdown's not going to get any slower, and then it does. But yeah, it was a good song.
Yeah, I think a bit like with Gojira, my expectations were high, having like heard about them for so long. Yeah, I've not really got much more to add to what you guys said. It was alright, despite it. Congratulations,
Devil Wears Prada, you get an alright from the RAGAMUFFIN podcast.
Spiritbox released Circle With Me. I love this. Spiritbox are a band that I've seen people mentioning kind of alongside Loathe and Sleep Token as like game changers in metalcore at the moment, and I fully agree. It's weird, it's like they're undeniably metalcore but still completely unique in a genre that could quite easily sound kind of like stereotyped. And I think the real kind of gem in this band is the vocalist. Courtney LaPlante has like these delicate cleans and then just crushes it with her screams. Yeah, basically, if you're not on the Spiritbox hype, get on it. What did you guys think?
They're one of the most exciting bands in the scene right now. All eyes are on them, and they've delivered with this one. The vocals, as Alex said, are fantastic, and although they're a metalcore band at core, I guess, most of this song is quite calming and melodic, really. It's only towards the end, really, that it starts to pick up, and as Alex said, the vocals switch up from this really beautiful cleans to these crushing screams, which sound amazing.
It is. It's just got some great riffs to open. Lovely mixing the instruments. The bass really shines through, and the vocals are just aesthetic in a fantastic performance. The transition they go from the verse to pre-chorus to chorus, I think, was fantastic, with a really nice subtle build towards like a really, really big, powerful chorus. Again, I echo what you said. The change in the bridge was excellent, and this is where I can contrast my previous point about Nightfall with Deborah's Prada. Circle With Me has those kind of progressions, those peaks, those troughs. It has those builds kind of coming up to that chorus. It brings those drawbacks. It gives you that story and takes you on a journey throughout the song and keeps that engagement. And this is how a song should be written. And I am very much looking forward to the album coming out soon.
Well, it's funny you say that, because they announced today, the day of recording, that their debut album, Eternal Blue, is set for release on September 17th.
We also got a new song from Sharkbait called Fingers Crossed, who have previously been featured on this podcast. I love hearing this side of them. It's a bit slower and in a way softer, but it still packs the same sort of punch as the other song that we featured. And the bridge through to the end especially is, I think, written so perfectly, lyrically and musically. It hits you, and the lyrics are written in a way that are relatable without coming across as like cheesy or cliche. And I just really love this band.
Yeah, we love Sharkbait here. Like Alex said, it's something a bit different to what they normally do. It builds really nicely towards a huge chorus and progresses into a bridge towards the end, which is lovely.
Just a very well-structured song. Some great progressions. The sound feels really big and full during the whole band sections, and it's just layered nicely in some of the more mellow ones. Some lovely bits in the drum parts, especially the cymbal work with little hi-hat lifts, some splash hits on certain accents that are nice. And the track's in 3/4, which is something very refreshing, and it's really executed fantastically. The emotions in the vocals are fantastic. And I think they are a great example of why we do this featured artist part, because it gives more people a chance to discover bands they otherwise wouldn't find. And I, for one, definitely look forward to catching them on a UK tour when we can have gigs back.
You can find Sharkbait's new song, as well as a lot of new releases, in our What's New Then playlist in the description.
Frank Hart and the Rattlesnakes recently released My Town, featuring Joe Talbot of Idols. Dan, what do you think of this?
To be honest, I don't really know what I think of this. I love Frank Hart and the Rattlesnakes. I love Idols, but I'm just not too keen on this song, and I don't really know why. Lyrically, it's good. It's got a good message behind it, but it feels just a bit like it's not got a purpose. I don't really know.
Yeah.
I'm creating more questions here than answers. James, do you have any answers?
I have no answers. Because I know this is hard for me as well, because I know how much you're a fan of Frank Carter and the Rattlesnakes. And I know that you both love Idols, and I just didn't enjoy it, to be honest. It just didn't have a sound that properly appealed to me. I actually found the feature was the best part of the track.
I agree with that.
But that's genuinely all I could really find that I enjoyed in it. Sadly, yeah. Ali?
It felt like, I don't know, in theory, this feature, or this collaboration, is like a perfect marriage of styles. And it just felt like it just wasn't executed as well as it could have been. And I think that's just kind of left me feeling a bit let down by it. Because I felt like it should have been like a all-out angry, in-your-face song, and it didn't really go there. Yeah, feel bad saying that, but
It's like you're expecting like an angry, yappy terrier, and you've just got a little chihuahua that's not going to cause any damage.
No, with those two names on the song, I expected a lot more than that. So, disappointment.
Don Broco fans, don't be alarmed. Their social media wasn't hacked. It was all just promo for their new song, Manchester Super Red's #1 fan. I mean, let's congratulate them for their social media presence for this song, because everyone was talking about it.
I mean, as a United fan, I had no problems with David Beckham being all over my Instagram feed, but yes, it's nice that it's for a new song.
What did you guys think of it?
It's a grower for sure. It's a really weird one. Instrumentally, it's quite good. The guitar tone's interesting again. It's sort of that signature Don Broco tone. I think it's let down by the lyrics. I don't know what ultrasonic people means. And the video is brilliant. That brings it back up a peg or two.
Yeah. What about you, Jay?
This has been an interesting one because I think you both have been anticipating my response to this. I think this is the first Don Broco song I can actually honestly say I enjoyed, which will probably be a delight to both of you. I thought it was very well crafted. The transitions into the different styles and different sections were really engaging, and I think kept the listeners in. I agree with the lyrics, with what you said, Dan. They were a bit off-putting for me with that. But there we go. I guess I can now say I like a Don Broco song.
I have to say I'm surprised by that.
Yeah? Didn't expect that.
I thought you'd like the older, riffier stuff off of Technology a lot more than this.
No, this has been the best thing I've heard from them, I believe. Yeah.
What a pleasant surprise. What did you think about Alex?
I think one thing that you pointed out was that they've got a very particular tone and like very specific sound, which is great because it makes it like unmistakably them when you hear it. And it's weird. It's like with them, they almost are like a pop band, but they play in like drop A, and it shouldn't work, but it does. I think the thing about this song that I like is the kind of hectic, chaotic energy that it has. And if you know this band live, I'd be hard pressed to find a better live band than them. And this song is going to be a perfect addition to their set, especially at like a festival or something. You can picture a crowd singing along. And the break where it says Manchester Super A's #1 fan, you can already hear everyone.
I can already imagine that being loud.
Yeah. I think they're... I don't even know what to say. I think it's just perfect for them, this song. It's exactly what I would expect from them. And yeah, it was great. And the music video, like you said, was incredible.
I think it's interesting you mentioning hearing it live, because I think all Don Broco songs sound that little bit heavier and more intense live.
Yeah.
So this song will thrive, I think, in that scenario. With all the different directions it takes, I think it's going to be a bit of a banger.
And last up, we got Hollywood Sucks by Kenny Hoopla featuring Travis Barker. What do you guys think?
Kenny is a returning client to Travis Barker's pop-punk conversion therapy clinic. He seems to be on a run of... Travis Barker seems to be on a run of converting emo rap artists into pop-punk artists. And in this situation, it's an amazing pop-punk song, but I'm just disappointed that it's so different to Kenny's unique style. He's got quite a sort of emo indie / rap style on his previous EP that this is a complete departure from. But like I said, it's a brilliant song. I just hope that he's not ditching his old style. Was this you guys' first Kenny Hoopla experience?
It was, yeah. I thought it was just a pretty fun pop-punk song and not a whole lot more. I'd like to get into some of his older stuff now that you said that. That's what it sounds like. I just got to beg the question why Travis Barker has to be a feature on everything. Like,
he's just everywhere.
Take a day off, mate.
He must have been cloned.
Yeah.
There's no way he's doing all these features at the same time.
Someone else can play the drums, mate. Just go on holiday.
No, they can't.
Oh yeah,
Not,
apparently
not,
not.
No one else
not in a
can.
pop-punk style.
No.
What about you, Jay?
Again, yeah, just solid, catchy pop punk. It does exactly what you'd expect it to be in kind of that mold, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because it does it well. I just find it's all about the lyricism with the song. The first half of the chorus in particular just had me laughing when I first heard it, and it just seemed like a couple of minutes of just fun, well written, just good pop punk.
We've got a couple of releases coming soon in the next month. On the 4th of June, Atreyu will be releasing Baptise and Rise Against will be releasing Nowhere Generation. And then 3 albums coming on the 25th. Beartooth's Below, Black Metal Icon's Dark Throne will release Eternal Hails, and Light the Torch will release You Will Be the Death of Me. What are we excited for right then?
I feel like I need the excuse to listen to Atreyu properly because they've been a band that I haven't listened to in probably at least 5 or 6 years. And it would kind of be nice to revisit them a bit more. And then Beartooth are one of my favourite bands. Seen them so many times. the new singles leave me a little bit conflicted, so I'm intrigued to know how that's going to be when it comes out. But we shall see.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the new Beartooth album. I'm the same with James. The singles have got me a little bit. Is it going to be good? Is it going to be a bomb, a completely drop? But yeah, I'm hoping it will redeem itself. There's more. There's obviously way more songs to come, so I still hold out hope.
And I'm excited for the new Dark Throne album. They're a band that have pushed like the boundaries of black metal and pushed it in new directions. So I'm excited to see what they do next. It's that or this time.
Cue the jingle.
That or this or that. That or this or that. That or this or that. That or this.
All right, this month, as it is, has been the Brit Awards and it's British Music Month. This, that or this is a theme to the Brit Awards. So I've picked 3 winners over the years from each of the main categories. So Album of the Year, Song, Male Solo Artist, Female Solo Artist, Best Group and Best New Artist. I've got 3 for each one. And I just want you to tell me what your favourite artist is from each one. So first up, we've got Album of the Year winners. We've got Adele, who won in 2012 with her album 21. Oasis, who won in 96 with What's the Story, Morning Glory. And the Beatles, who won with Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band in 77, sorry.
I'm gonna go with the Beatles for that one, I believe. Yeah.
See, I think personally, Oasis are a little bit overrated, but that album is a banger, so they win it with that one.
I think I'm going to sound such a wanker, but I've been proper getting into the Beatles lately, but not that album. So, same reason, I'll go Oasis. So for song, do you want to pick what your favourite song is that they won with, rather than just the artist? And I've got what song they won
okay.
for.
Yeah,
we'll do
the song. I'm doing
yeah,
based on the song, yeah.
Okay, so winners of Song of the Year, we got Robbie Williams with Rock DJ in 2001, JLS with Beat Again in 2010, and Tiny Temper's Pass Out in 2011. James?
100% Robbie Williams straight away. I grew up on a load of Robbie Williams as a kid. I had every album as a kid. I had all of them. 100% Rock DJ. Definitely.
Rock DJ is a classic, but for me, not as big of a classic as Tiny Temper. Okay. I remember Bluetoothing that song amongst my friends in school, and the little drum and bass bit at the end is just really cool. Or I thought it was, at least.
I think, yeah, Pass Out, Tiny Temper. It's a song that, like, amongst our generation, you could play that and be guaranteed that someone in the room will rap the entire song back to you. So
I'm disappointed in both of you.
Sorry. We've got a real mixed bag for Male Solo Artist of the Year. So we got Stormzy, who was a 2-time winner in 2018 and 2020. Elton John, winner in 1991. And David Bowie, who was a 3-time winner in 1984, 2014 and 2017.
I'm going to go with David Bowie. I probably out of those 3 enjoy more of his music. And again, the influence he's had on artists that I listen to, I think, is profound.
Storms is great, but I don't think it's fair to compare him to the legends that are David Bowie and Elton John. So, sorry Storms, but you're out. And I think I'm going to give it to Elton John if I'm choosing between those two. He's just got more bangers for me.
I think same, Elton John. It's just the bangers. Alright, next up we got Female Solo Artist of the Year. We've got Amy Winehouse, winner in 2007. Adele, 2-time winner in 2012 and 2016. And Dua Lipa, who won in 2018 and 2021.
I know who you're going to choose. I'm going to go with Amy Winehouse. I probably enjoy her music the most out of the 3 of those, so that will be my pick.
Yeah, I don't mind a bit of Dua Lipa. Adele's obviously a legend. But I think out of those 3, I prefer Amy Winehouse.
Go on, who am I picking?
I vibe more with her.
Who am I picking then, James?
Dua Lipa.
I'm picking Dua Lipa, yeah. Future Nostalgia's such a good album. I really enjoy that album. I'm not ashamed to admit it on this metal music podcast. Next up we got Best British Group. Little Mix, who won in 2021 and, notably, are the only all-girl group to win that award. Arctic Monkeys, winners in 2007 and 2008, and the 1975, who have won in 2017 and 2019.
I think purely because I would say I've heard more of them, and I'll for that reason, it'll be the Arctic Monkeys. That's all I got.
No other reason.
No other reason.
Can I ask, what year did the Arctic Monkeys win it?
2007, 2008.
I wanted to know what era I was voting for here, and that's made my decision. It's the Arctic Monkeys. They were just unstoppable at that phase in their career. No one was touching them.
I'm going to pick Little Mix. I think Little Mix got really catchy songs. Alright, last up we got a winner for Best New Artist, which was Busted in 2004, Mika in 2008, and Lewis Capaldi in 2020.
100% Busted. That debut album and then A Present for Everyone. Fantastic. There's still like a part of, I guess, me from year 3 that would love to see Busted live still. And when I heard they were at Slam Dunk, I want to say 2018, under Y3K, I really wish I'd been there. So 100% Busted.
I think me and James are of a certain age. I don't know if they were just before Alex's time, but Busted were life.
Oh, fantastic.
So
Yeah,
Busted,
no, I was there
it.
as well, yeah.
You were there.
Yeah.
I think I forced it on you probably growing up.
I think, and I don't mean to sound like hyperbolic when I say this, but like listening to Busted is like the first gateway to then going on to Green Day. And then that is where like the spiral goes into like alternative music.
When I think of what was the first pop punk band I listened to, Busted are probably the one.
They kind of classify into that, don't they?
I know. Theoretically, they were a pop band, but
You don't know.
I'd say they're punky.
Mm.
They have that kind of
They were
aspect.
modelled as that anyway.
Yeah.
And that was what was popular at the time. So.
I've got a couple of bonus quiz questions for you.
Ooh. Okay.
Oh.
So, who do you guys think has won the most awards of all time at the Brits?
Ooh.
Make a guess, and how many awards do you think?
Adele. 10?
I reckon Oasis,
And-
or maybe more specifically Noel Gallagher.
And how many awards do you reckon he's won?
8.
Okay, so the most successful artist at the Brits, who has won 18 awards across various categories, Robbie Williams. He has been a 4-time Male Solo Artist of the Year, 3-time back-to-back Song of the Year.
I mean, yeah, you say that and you can understand why.
Turns up. He comes for the neck.
Because then you think, do some of his wins then come under Take That as well?
Yeah, I imagine they would have been.
Yeah, some of them were part of Take That as well.
Yeah, I can imagine, yeah.
Next up, who do you think is the most successful female artist at the Brits of all time? It's a 6-time winner.
I'm sticking with my guns with Adele.
It's got to be Adele, isn't it?
Annie Lennox.
Shit, really?
Yep.
Fair play.
Okay.
Well in, Annie.
And lastly, who do you think is the most successful band at the Brits? They've been nominated 8 times and a 4-time Group of the Year winners.
Right, okay. I'm trying to think if One Direction would have been around for enough years to get that many. I'm thinking no. I'm going to go with Take That.
I'm going to go for Blur.
Coldplay
Oh,
is the correct answer.
Thank you for listening to the Ragamuffin Music Podcast.
this was our last
We'll
episode.
see you next month.
And that concludes the That or This.
Fucking Coldplay.
It's now time for the featured song. This month's featured artist is experimental indie rock band Czech Hotel. They take influence from a bunch of genres including emo, post-rock and more, but they sound so unique. They've recently released an EP called Domino, which is available on all streaming services. So absolutely go and check that out, it's amazing. And the song we have today is called Mammoth. It's the lead single from the EP. I loved this song. What did you guys think of it?
Yeah, we all listened to the whole EP, but we've all agreed that this was our favourite song off of the whole thing. They seem to take influence from Citizen and some of the later Basement songs, I think. And I like how the keyboard really sets it apart from everything else similar.
I think it had a really nice motif on the guitar from the beginning, alongside a really, really strong vocal performance. But for me, the biggest draw was actually the drum sound. The hi-hat hits, ride accents during beats, and then what I believe was like a ride crash hybrid cymbal have really distinct tones to them and really jump out in the mix. And the change in sound during the bridge was a really nice addition into the song, kind of almost coming out of nowhere and then falls back into that really nice riff. It felt like it was almost like a well-structured blip in the song, breaking away from what you've heard before, but then also still really fit in with the whole structure. And I found it a really, really enjoyable listen.
So this is Czech Hotel and Mammoth.
So if you're an independent band and you'd like to be featured on the podcast, follow the details in the description, and who knows, maybe we'll be reviewing your song next month.
It's now time for our discussion. Who are the most influential heavy British music acts of all time? We've picked 3 each to bring to the table today. So James, why don't you go first?
So my first one that I'm going to name is Black Sabbath. I feel like this is one that is very unanimous across the three of us. Bands such as Metallica, Ghost, Korn, Lamb of God, Slipknot have all said they've been influenced by them. There's been 70 million records sold worldwide. Their second album, Paranoid, was an album that Rolling Stone magazine said changed music forever. And then Type magazine called it the birthplace of heavy metal. They're inducted by Hetfield and Ulrich from Metallica into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2006, who both said how heavy their influence was on them. Scott Ian of Anthrax has been asked before what his favourite 5 or top 5 heavy metal albums of all time were, and he just said simply the first 5 Black Sabbath albums. And then finally, Chris Adler from Lamb of God said that if anybody who plays heavy metal says they weren't influenced by Black Sabbath's music, then I think they're lying to you. I think all heavy music was, and in some way, influenced by what Black Sabbath did. And I think their music and their discography speaks for themselves.
Yeah, Sabbath were the first band that came to mind when I started to think of influential metal bands. They're pretty much the first band to do it, aren't they? I think some people argue that Zeppelin did it first, but I think Sabbath were the first to properly do heavy metal. So there's no argument with that, really.
Yeah, I've got exactly the same. I think, even if you look at the modern scope of music that we enjoy, it all gets traced back to Sabbath. They're the root of everything, really. And I think that quote that you said about from Rolling Stone that Paranoid changed music forever, I don't think that's an exaggeration at all.
No. So that's nice. We've got a nice unanimous one between us all. I will then go straight to my second one then. I've got Iron Maiden. Lars Ulrich once again said that he's had an incredible amount of respect and admiration for them and the career they've had, and that Maiden are the biggest influence on Metallica as a band. Kerry King of Slayer and Scott Ian of Anthrax have each said how much they were influenced very early on in just learning to play guitar, just from listening to Iron Maiden. M Shadows has stated that Maiden are one of the best live bands in the world and that the music is timeless. And then people like Matt Heafy have said that without Maiden, Trivium just wouldn't exist. So I think, again, similarly to Sabbath, the impact Iron Maiden have had, especially like in their live kind of performance scenario, they're known for like how they are at Download Festival and screaming about Donington. They're just so influential.
Again, no arguments.
Yeah. Your second band, Dan?
So I know we're talking about heavy bands, but I think Oasis have influenced heavy British music. Hear me out. I know they're an indie band, and I'm not talking about them just influencing modern indie music, but everyone in a band knows how to play Wonderwall. Everyone who can play guitar can play Wonderwall. Everyone in the north that's in a band listen to Oasis. I'd argue that everyone in the country that's in a band now listen to Oasis and has at least had some kind of influence from them. Whether they're making indie music now or heavy music, anything guitar-based has been heavily influenced in the UK by Oasis.
Yeah, I think that's actually a fair point to make. Especially guitar-wise. I mean, some of the things that they do, like chord progressions and the way that they structure a song as well, yeah, their influence is clear beyond the genre that they're in. Yeah, I think that's fair.
And I can hate to admit it, but yes, I agree. That is a very good point.
James had a really curled up face then, like he'd just chewed on a Tangfastic, but he has to admit.
I have to admit, like I can say I don't enjoy their music, but what they've done and their influence is notable.
So we all said Sabbath as our first, so my second band that I've got is the Sex Pistols. You can argue about the heaviness of them as a band, but I think in the brief time that they were together, I mean, they're regarded as the leaders of the punk movement in the UK. And like Sabbath, the list of people that cite them as an influence is just endless. And like the genre that they spawned, and then, you know, people like Nirvana, Green Day, NoFX, Oasis, all citing them as an influence. And they even had one concert specifically that had audience members who went on to form major bands. Members of the Buzzcocks, Joy Division, Morrissey and the Smiths were all at one gig. I mean,
that's a nice little
You can't
story.
argue that Sex Pistols aren't influential.
Definitely not.
They're
Definitely
doing
not.
that.
Yeah, I can't argue with that in the slightest either.
There was a bit of a scene at the time, really. I think you can put the Clash and the Ramones in like a similar kind of vein as well.
Yeah, I agree.
So bring it back to the kind of question, I guess, of who are the most influential heavy British music acts of all time. We've kind of done a lot of this, like 80s, 70s kind of bands. I am bringing it much more forward with the 2000s. I'm going to bring with the Horizon.
He's taken another one of mine.
Oh dear.
I mean, that's a good thing we've got multiple, I guess, because it just shows how influential they are and the impact when you kind of think of this kind of thing. What are these bands that jump out to you? And you look at during the early years, they were a band that just pushed much more for like these online sales of merch and not just selling it at live shows, which even in the mid 2000s, everyone just did it at shows. The online merch was just kind of being born. And the second album, Suicide Season, has been notably said to influence bands such as Asking Alexandria, The Ghost Inside, Devil Wears Prada, Architects, While She Sleeps. And they've been a band that have never been afraid to step out of the boundaries they've been said to be in. They've pushed for branching out in the sound of music they write. They've broken into that mainstream music. It may have not always been successful or critically received well by fans, but they've never wavered from trying something new and pushing modern metal forwards and allowing bands like Architects and Sleeps in the UK, who are now trying to be seen more as like these new leading bands in the UK metal scene, to do what they've done this year, like with Sleep Society and For Those That Wish to Exist. So I think Bring Me the Horizon you can't argue, especially in this modern day, the influence that they've had on so many bands in this scene.
When I thought of Bring Me the Horizon, when I was thinking of these ones before James did, I thought they were a bit of a controversial choice, because when you think of influential artists, you think of ones from decades ago that have influenced current bands. This is a current band that's influencing future bands at the moment. I feel like whenever Bring Me the Horizon tries something new, about 2 years later you get a wave of albums that sound exactly like what they've just released. After Sempiternal, there was a wave of metalcore albums that sounded pretty similar to it. The same with when they've, probably in a couple of years' time, we're going to have stuff similar to their current album, their most recent one as well. And yeah, whenever they try something new, everyone seems to follow them and copy them. So you can't argue that they're influential, really.
Got to be doing something, right?
I think that's the thing that stands out when you look at them compared to like the older bands. I think, like you said, their influence is so much more immediately noticeable. Like when you look at bands like Sabbath and Maiden and that, it's a couple of years later before other people start to pick it up. But yeah, with Bring Me, they're like, I don't mean this in a harsh way, but the imitations came very, very quickly after their landmark albums came out.
We're seeing it happen just right in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
It's happening right now, and it's phenomenal. It's fantastic. Alex, your third?
My third, I've gone old, actually, seeing as U2 went modern. And you can't, they're not really heavy, but they were kind of heavy in their day. I've gone for the Beatles.
I knew that was coming.
I just don't think you even need to argue this. The influence that they have is just everywhere. You could argue that they were maybe the first rock band. I mean, you had Elvis in the States as a kind of solo artist, but the Beatles were the first, I think, real rock band. People have called them like the innovators of the modern music video. They held the largest audience for a concert in history, with 55,600 people. I mean, they changed the way that people consume music. You look at like Beatlemania and the way that fans obsessed about them. It was the first time that people took a band and made them like a cultural icon rather than just music. And then musically, I mean, from songwriting to the way they structure songs to the way they put an album together, they have laid the groundwork for so many bands that have come after them.
Basically anything kind of guitar driven originates from the Beatles, I think.
And you were saying about how like big and commercial they were with like Beatlemania. They were the first like band to then become like a brand. And you look at nowadays when you can walk into Primark and see a Metallica t-shirt or a Guns N' Roses t-shirt, that's all based and that's being sold on the idea of a brand. And again, you trace that back to then the Beatles.
We're all nodding at each other, yeah.
On agreement.
Can I add a follow-up question,
Yes.
which I'm going to spring upon you now
Yeah.
to get a in the moment answer? Are there any British bands right now that haven't really broken through fully yet that you think are going to go on to be influential?
While She Sleeps are on the precipice, and I think Architects are just starting to.
I think Architects are just about there now.
Yeah.
They're starting to get copycats now. Have you seen with their album artwork? There's a band, I think it's somewhere in Europe.
A German band who
completely. That's it. They've completely copied their album art, but in like a VTech Wish.com style. But I think they're very much similar, in a similar vein to Bring Me the Horizon, in that when they do something innovative, they're going to get copied, and everyone else in the scene is going to. There's already been some things about their riffs getting copied. Yeah. And I think their style is going to, be influential very soon.
I think both of those are very good.
I think also it will probably take a few more releases, but if their music carries on from the album we just had, Loathe will be up there.
Yeah.
Loathe were the first name that I had in mind. I also thought of Sleep Token.
Yeah.
Although there's a lot of bands already doing a similar kind of prog style, I think with a couple of albums, with them finding a proper uniqueness, I think that they'll be able to influence the future.
The biggest thing to tell with that is like a lot of these are like newer bands that are then also kind of had releases and things like that during like COVID, and then looking at how they will then perform live. Now they've got more of a following over this past year. What kind of responses will be in that kind of setting, I think, will really then get that word of mouth even quicker, and I think that will help those bands grow so much bigger.
Yeah, I mean, I'd heard of Sleep Token before the pandemic, before everything went onto lockdown, but I only got into them since that. So they're one of the bands that I really want to see live when we get out of this. So yeah, for that I think they're gonna start growing, and again they've only released one album, so once they've got another couple under their belt, I think they can start to go up the ladder and lead from the front.
James, what have you been spinning lately that you'd like to recommend?
Much to, I think, Alex's annoyance, I have been listening to some Dream Theater and gone back to an album that was very influential on like drumming for me, which was, I believe it's 2007, Systematic Chaos. I'm just going to straight up, excluding the vocals, which could be hit or miss for many, many people. I think no one can deny the musicality of this album is just incredible. Like I said, it massively influenced my drumming style and interests, and it was a drum teacher that first played me The Dark Eternal Night and introduced me to what double bass drumming was. And from then, that completely changed everything I knew about drumming and about music. And it was like, hearing this prog metal kind of music, my brain was suddenly overloaded and my eyes were open to a whole different genre and something so different to just your regular structures. Some of the tones and the sounds they use and the way they play their instruments is really intriguing. And for me personally, it is my favourite Dream Theater album, and it shows how diverse they are across the whole track list. So, Systematic Chaos by Dream Theater.
Who played drums on that album?
It was a one Mr. Mike Portnoy.
There it is!
Cross it off your bingo card. Dan, what would you like to recommend?
I'm going to recommend an artist that I only discovered this month after the release of his latest album, which is called Someone Will Be There For You. He's a singer-songwriter from New Zealand. He goes under the name of Lontalius. I couldn't wait to share this album with Alex. I shared it with him early this month. I couldn't wait for this podcast to show him. It's quite a sad boy, acoustic-y kind of album, but there's a bit of a sort of hopeful undertone to it as well.
It is a great album. And I'm going to recommend Enemy of the World by 4 Years Strong. I don't think this band gets enough love for what they've done for pop punk and easycore, and I just want everyone to give it a listen because it's so good. So yeah, some albums for listeners
I'm
at home.
excited to listen to Enemy of the World again. It's been a little while.
Yeah. Once again, thank you for listening, and if you're not already, why not hit subscribe to never miss out on another video. We have this podcast every month, album and single reviews, news updates, and other videos in the world of alternative music.
If you are an independent artist, please look in the description of the video. We have details where you can submit songs. We can feature you. We will review your songs. Please send them in.
If you disagreed or agreed with any of our reviews and suggestions, leave a comment. Tell us where we were wrong. Tell us where you think we were right. And also, if you've made it to the end of the podcast, comment Mike Portnoy.
Bye.
See ya.
Laters.